All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're looking at a fascinating, completely unseen war going on right beneath our feet and right behind our walls. We're actually using Green Cove Springs, Florida as our ultimate case study for this. Why? Because it's basically the perfect testing ground. It's a place where relentless environmental forces are just constantly battling residential home infrastructure. So if you want to understand exactly why things break and how modern engineering fights back, well, this is absolutely the place to look.
It's kind of wild to think about, right? Why does simply living near a beautiful river or buying a gorgeous historic home quietly put your property at risk of a sudden, catastrophic failure? I mean, most of us just turn on the tap and expect water to flow, completely unaware of the physical, chemical, and natural forces actively working to tear those systems apart.
Section 1. Nature versus your pipes. To really grasp why our plumbing fails, we first have to look at the relentless environmental antagonists actively attacking it.
What's really interesting here is that these aren't just your standard trivial weather notes. They are active, aggressive forces. Think about it. That humid subtropical climate means moisture is always a massive factor. The high groundwater near the St. Johns River and Governor's Creek puts constant, immense hydrostatic pressure on your underground sewer lines. Then you have Clay County's naturally acidic sandy soil, which literally accelerates the corrosion of metal pipes buried right inside it. Add in sulfur-heavy well water in the more rural areas, and you've got a perfect recipe for infrastructure decay.
And the extreme shifts in temperature, they heavily compound the problem. In the summer, that intense heat actually causes concrete slab foundations to expand and shift. That movement literally pushes and pulls at the hidden, rigid copper connections trapped inside the foundation. Then, a rare winter freeze drops in out of nowhere and ambushes exposed outdoor faucets and irrigation lines. It's an environment of extremes that is just constantly stressing the materials meant to keep your home dry.
Moving into Section 2, Hidden Dangers Below Ground. We know the environment is pretty hostile out there, so let's look at the actual materials holding your water.
So if you live in an older, historic neighborhood, say around Spring Park or Magnolia Point in Green Cove Springs, you're likely sitting on top of a ticking timeline of obsolete, decaying materials. Pre-1950s homes might still hide really dangerous lead lines. Homes built before the 1980s heavily utilized galvanized steel, which we now know corrodes from the inside out, choking water flow with rust until the pressure just totally drops. Then came the 1980s and polybutylene pipes, which became infamous for suddenly bursting without any warning at all. It's really only in modern times that we've shifted to highly resilient PEX and PVC solutions. Essentially, the age of your home directly dictates the hidden risks below your feet.
But hey, it's not just the age of the pipes, it's what's literally growing right through them. Tree roots are a massive, massive issue for older clay sewer pipes. Nature's always thirsty, right? Out in that sandy soil, tree roots will aggressively seek out the moisture inside your sewer lines. They'll physically crush their way through the old clay joints, grow inside the pipe, catch debris, and eventually create these massive blockages. And this isn't something you can just fix with a plunger. Clearing this out requires high-tech video camera inspections and heavy-duty hydrojetting to blast the roots away.
Section 3. The Water Quality Battle. Because this fight isn't just happening outside in the dirt, it's happening right inside the pipes.
If you're out in a rural area, maybe near Middleburg Road, and your tap water smells strongly like rotten eggs, well, you're experiencing hydrogen sulfide. This happens when naturally occurring sulfur in the groundwater meets your home's water heater. The anode rod inside the heater reacts with sulfur bacteria, which multiply in the warm water and produce that terrible odor. It's just a perfect example of how a microscopic reaction causes a macro whole house problem.
And then you have hard water, which is basically this crusty, silent invader. For your fixtures, the damage is mineral deposits, giving you that classic warning sign of white, chalky buildup on your faucets. Inside your pipes, minerals build up layer by layer, quietly dropping your household water pressure over time. But the absolute most dramatic impact is on your water heater. Hard water leaves this thick sediment at the bottom of the tank, so the heating element then has to work overtime trying to heat water through a thick layer of rock-like sediment. If you hear rumbling or popping sounds coming from your water heater, that's actually the sound of water boiling underneath a layer of hardened minerals.
Which brings us to a really massive number. 20. 20 years is the expected lifespan of a modern tankless water heater. To put that into perspective, traditional tank water heaters, especially those battling all that heavy local sediment we just talked about, generally only survive about 10 to 12 years. By completely eliminating the tank where that sediment accumulates, tankless systems offer a massive leap in longevity and efficiency in these hard water environments.
Section 4. Anatomy of an Emergency. Here's where we look at what happens when all these daily stresses finally hit their breaking point.
When a breakdown escalates, it is total chaos. And let's be real, it is never convenient. A plumbing emergency stops absolutely everything. A burst supply line doesn't just drip, it spreads rapid water damage right through your walls and floors. A backed-up sewer drain introduces contaminated, dangerous water into your living space. And failing water heaters just love to rupture and flood garages in the dead of night. Your home instantly turns from a sanctuary into a disaster zone. This is exactly why having a 24/7 rapid response from a professional isn't a luxury. It's an absolute necessity to stop the damage.
So when the absolute worst-case scenario hits and a system is just beyond repair, a complete repipe is needed. Experts have to weigh two main contenders: the incredible flexibility and freeze resistance of modern PEX tubing versus the classic, proven durability of copper. PEX is faster to install and handles Florida's rare freezes beautifully, but you have to route it perfectly so it doesn't kink. Copper, on the other hand, is incredibly reliable long-term, but it definitely demands a higher upfront budget and highly skilled soldering to install. The choice really depends entirely on the home's specific architecture and the homeowner's budget. Section 5, the professional solution. When chaos hits, you really can't rely on guesswork. Let's look at how local experts, specifically Titan Plumbing Jacksonville, actually combat these challenges. A true professional solution is rooted in strict, absolutely rigorous adherence to the Florida Building Code. We're not just talking about turning a wrench or gluing some pipe together here. It's a highly technical process. It involves precise mathematical calculations to size drain lines properly, ensuring correct venting so dangerous sewer gases don't sneak into the home, and navigating the incredibly complex world of county permits and inspections. A true pro ensures the repair doesn't just stop the leak today, but actually outlast the environmental threats of tomorrow. And that strict code adherence translates into a very structured three-step process. Titan Plumbing conquers the chaos using a rigorous rule of three. Step 1. Diagnosis and assessment. They use pressure gauges and video cameras to find the actual root cause, not just patch the symptom. Step 2. Written quote and approval. They provide transparent, upfront, flat-rate pricing so you know the exact cost before a single tool is even lifted. And finally, Step 3. Expert repair and testing. They complete the work to code and fully test the system to ensure it holds up against all those forces we've been talking about.
I absolutely love this core philosophy. We educate rather than upsell. What you should really take away from this is the mark of a true professional. A top-tier technician acts as an investigator and a teacher, taking the time to explain the why behind a failure. I mean, if your pipe bursts because of high water pressure or acidic soil, you need to know that. Otherwise, you're just paying for a temporary patch. Education really is the ultimate preventative maintenance.
So that brings us to our final big question. Is your home's infrastructure secretly losing the battle against nature right now? We've seen the antagonists: the hard water, the shifting soil, the thirsty roots, the aging materials. Take a walk around your property today. Look closely under your sinks. Listen to your water heater. Check your water pressure. Because understanding these invisible forces at play right now might just save you from waking up to tomorrow's emergency. Thanks for joining me on this explainer. I really hope it gave you a whole new perspective on the hidden world inside your walls.